It was morning on our first full day in the Kakamega, Kenya's only remaining tropical rainforest, and a remnant of a forest that used to stretch right across the continent. We were going to find species here that we wouldn't see elsewhere. Our first stop was on a bridge over this little river, where we were serenaded by African pied wagtail. On the banks of the river were a pair of mountain wagtails, a lifer. That was an excellent start. As the name suggests, these birds are only found in Afromontane regions, preferring small rivers and streams at elevations over about 1,500 meters or 4,900 feet. This was the perfect habitat for them. In the trees nearby were more Stuhlmann's blue monkeys. These are also known as diademed monkeys after the pale stripe across the forehead above the eyes. Early morning seemed to be the time for the local ladies to collect firewood. We were very impressed by the loads that they were carrying. Chubb's sisticler is a fairly plain bird, just with a reddish cap. It likes open montane habitats, so we were pleased to find one around the river and road junction, where it was fairly open. This ashy flycatcher was visible momentarily at the forest edge. White-chinned prinias were more obliging, showing quite well. Now, this was a species we'd wanted to see, the great blue turaco. This is the largest species of turaco, but this didn't make it easy. Brief views only. Also brief was this Ludha's bushshrike. We were getting some good new species for the trip, and up popped another one, the grey-throated barbet. This is a very stupid name for a bird with two big tufts by the bill but an indistinguishable throat. Another white-throated bee-eater was nice to see. It's a shame that they always seem to choose to sit right at the top of the trees. Our third wagtail of the day. These were a couple of Cape wagtails looking for insects in a small puddle on the side of the track. A 3-wagtail day can't be bad. One striking feature of the forest was the number of butterflies we found here, far more than in the other locations we had visited so far. It has been quite difficult to find identifications for many of them, but here are a few that we think are correct. This locality is famous for resident crowned eagles. There is even a nest on the Rondo Retreat property which we had yet to see, but here we found one flying. Back to butterflies, and a good group which were taking minerals off a damp patch of the track. Here were emperor swallowtail, apple green swallowtail, and narrow green-banded swallowtail, amongst others. Very spectacular. We appreciated the calm beauty of this Gregory's brown pansy too. Time to head back for lunch. We had just reached the gate when we found this immature crowned eagle perched just opposite. It was maybe a result of the nest in the grounds and provided excellent views. After lunch we had a short rest in our room, located in Toroko Cottage, before heading out again by mid-afternoon. A splendid common pathfinder butterfly showed very well. Maybe the best bird of the afternoon was this blue-headed bee-eater, unfortunately a little distant but good views. Late in the afternoon we ended up in a clearing in the forest. The far end had sometimes held red-chested owlet, so we had to yomp over there to take a look. No luck though. Instead we were intrigued by a tiny frog, later identified as mascaring grass frog. It certainly caused quite a lot of interest. After a few grassland birds, like Isabeline wheatear and African stonechat, we returned to the retreat for the night. Tomorrow would bring more forest birding. After breakfast we roamed the grounds for a short while, saying good morning to a Hadada ibis in a tree and a joyful greenbull collecting moths from around a lamp that was left on at night. We did feel a little sorry for the moths. A rather active olive sunbird was also present, as well as a charming but busy buff-throated opalis. Catching it for photos was a bit of an effort, so we were pleased with what we managed to obtain. Also present was brown-capped weaver, a species that we would only find here in the Kakamega Forest. Sharp strongo seems to be limited to the Kakamega in Kenya. And a northern double-collared sunbird was very active in the early morning sun. It was joined by a green-headed sunbird. We were heading for the waterfall trail, just outside the grounds, which wound downhill by a little brook. Birding was difficult in the dense forest, but a small pool held this nuts river frog. This was actually almost as small as the mascaring grass frog seen yesterday. It was difficult for such a large group to really bird the trail. We actually took another trail that went back up to the lodge, in search of purple-throated cuckoo shrike, which we did see. Having almost returned to the lodge, we decided to leave the group and explore the grounds. The rest headed back down the narrow trail. We enjoyed excellent views of grey-throated barbet, with those wonderful tufts of feathers. This species has striking pale eyes in its eastern form, as here, and dark eyes in the west. The grounds of the Rondo Retreat, dotted with cottages to house the guests, are beautifully kept, with plentiful flower beds. No wonder then that it was well furnished with butterflies, like this charming little pansy. We took the chance of a little downtime to take tea on the lawn and watch the antics of a white-eyed slaty flycatcher that was hunting insects from the cottage roof. More butterflies in the grounds included Gregory's brown pansy and a very bright forest leopard. This one we think is elegant acrea. While this interesting insect is some form of flag mantis, It was quite refreshing to wander the grounds and find things for ourselves. Just for a change, even if it was just a common bulbul. Not much of a challenge. This one was more challenging. We ended up deciding this was a Violet's black weaver, but a female, so not actually black. We joined the rest of the group for lunch, which was interrupted by a trip to the garden to take a look at the crowned eagle's nest. There was actually a well-grown chick in the nest, which was difficult to see until it raised its head momentarily to call. A real surprise was a roosting nightjar in the grounds. There was some debate amongst the collected birders as to its identification, but the consensus eventually was that it was square-tailed nightjar. It was well admired as it was a lifer and a species that we really hadn't expected to see, and so well too. After a short while, the bird flew off, but only as far as the edge of the path in more shade. This interesting northern African snout butterfly was in foliage at the side of the track. Hopefully it would avoid being found by the joyful greenbulls. One of us took the afternoon off. The other, Mark, went with the group, finding a black and white colobus monkey. There were olive baboons waiting by the side of the track and showing no fear of the safari vans and the big group of birders. It seemed like odd behavior. It turned out that they were waiting for a tractor hauling newly harvested sugarcane, and baboons and humans alike were treated to a few tasty pieces. Back at the retreat, a buff-spotted woodpecker was in the trees and her dada ibis were foraging on the lawn. This was our last night at the very comfortable Rondo Retreat. The next morning we would be leaving to head towards a very different area and habitat. Rondo and the Kakamega Forest had been interesting, if difficult birding. We were looking forwards to a more open landscape, somewhere where it would be hopefully easier to manage a large group of birders and see lots of birds. For more information, see our 3-volume travelogue, in ebook or paperback format, from Amazon. Why not take a look at some Central American birding? Costa Rica and Panama videos are on our channel and ebook and paperback travelogues are on Amazon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Don't miss all our other videos in the Kenyan Birding Safari series.